already. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أفضل المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي وبعد. It's my pleasure to be here with you, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to open. Allah al-Fattah, God the Divine, is the opener, one of His names. He opens. He opens what? He opens closed doors. He opens maybe information. He opens onto a person like me maybe right now to say something that not only will benefit you but will benefit me. And as I start always, I remind people that what the person who's speaking, the transmitter, will say depends on the receiver. Sometimes it is one sister, one brother, one person sitting here, so sincere, that came, maybe he has classes, he has other things to do, but he wants to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he will come in this sitting, in this gathering. And because of his sincerity and because of his truthfulness, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will provide a person like me something to deliver to him. So not only does he benefit, I benefit, and all of us benefit. So I ask you in the beginning, first of all, to renew your sincerity and intention. And then to make dua, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to open onto the speaker and to veil my faults from you. And allow everyone to benefit from the blessing of information and knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might have given the likes of me. Now, as a start, this is a very special class. This is a class that deals with the most important topic. It deals about the essence of our religion. It deals about the essence of our purpose and existence in this earth. With this is the essence of happiness. Without this, you have misery. If anything you cannot afford to lose, it is this. There is this saying, ماذا فقد من وجدك وماذا وجد من فقدك. What has he lost? The one that found you, Ya Allah. And what has he found? The one that lost you. Oh, we cannot afford to lose on the divine. Those who find the divine, who has a relation, they have a relation with him, nothing else matters with them. And I started with a story, just to make things interesting, and then I will go for the presentation. And this is often how I start this kind of a class, this story that I learned long time ago from my sheikh. And it happened in the Middle East, in a village by the seaside. And there was this sailor, and you know back there, if you're a sailor, your children are sailors, right, by default. So he's a sailor, he has two kids, and one of them is going to be a sailor. The other kid said, no. You know what, I'm going to go to the university. I'm going to learn. I'm going to get a PhD. Right? University students. Knowledge is good, right? So, and the father said, okay, go ahead. And he went, and years passed by, and he took his master's and he took his PhD, and then he returned now to the same village. And he returns, and he sees his other brother, which is a sailor, right? And now he tells him, okay, brother, let's take the boat and go in. Let's talk. And they take the boat, and they start going inside the sea, and he starts telling his brother, do you know anything about calculus? No. You don't know anything about math? What were you doing? You lost 1/4 of your life. You don't know what you're missing. And then, of course, the sailor's depressed. And he tells him, how about history? Did you study history? No, you don't know anything about history? Oh my God, you lost 1/3 of your life. And then, okay, how about business? Economy, economics? Because now you're a sailor, like, do you know anything about economics? No? Oh my God, you lost 1/2 of your life. As they're speaking, the boat is rocking. And surely enough, it's a storm. And the sea gets rough, and they realize the boat is going to sink. So the sailor looks to Mr. PhD. Do you know how to swim? No, you lost all your life. What is the moral and the point of the story? Not all knowledge is equal, right? Yes, science is good, philosophy is good, history is good, math is good. But if you learned all those and you did not know about the source of all knowledge, what is the thing that human beings yearn the most to know? We want to know. That's why scientists study. We want to know the secrets, right? As a Muslim, you know what is the thing to know? Is to know the source of all knowledge. To know Al-Alim. Do you understand what it means? Can you imagine if you know? What is it that I know? How can I swim in the sea of this life if I don't know how to swim? I cannot afford to be a person going through this life, studying everything and losing on my relation to Allah. What we are trying to do here in this class is one thing. If I put it in one word, معرفة. معرفة الله. To know, not just to know theoretically. Do you know God? Yes, I know His 99 names. It's not what I'm speaking about. It's like, do you know how to swim? Yes, I read 5 books about it. Did you ever go into the water and swim? No. You have no idea what you're speaking about. What we're speaking about is not theoretical knowledge. It is experiential knowledge. To experience the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you ask a father or a mother, I ask you, do you know that a mother and a father loves their kids? Do you know that? My second question would be, do you have kids? Then you have no idea what you're speaking about. And I'm speaking about myself. Myself first. It's only when I got my daughter and son, then I can say, I understand what it means to love. I've experienced love. Human beings, we are on earth for the purpose, as I said here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us for one purpose. Can you go to the next slide? Why were we created? We were created to know God. The human being, his speciality, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created a creation that has the ability to experience and know God with different attributes. And this knowledge I'm speaking about is to experience Allah as the most loving, the most compassionate, the most giving. But God has other attributes. Al-Ghafur, the most forgiving. Allah has other attributes too. Al-Aziz, the Almighty. Al-Qawi. We have the capacity to experience Allah with all His names and attributes. This is the meaning of this life. This life, if you will, is a theater in which, through living it, we get to know and experience Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The title now I want for this presentation is one thing. This is what I want you to focus on. This has to do with the essence of Islam. What makes us a Muslim? How can you become a Muslim? There is a statement called the Declaration of Faith. What is it? Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Can you translate it? I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah. I'm going to focus on the first word. This presentation is about this. It's about the first word that we often miss. What is the first word? Ashhadu. What does ashhad mean? I see. Do you see? من عرف الحق شهده في كل شيء. Those who know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is the first benefit, they see Him in everything. They see Him in the flowers outside, the trees, the sunset. They see Him in their feelings, in their emotions, in their anxiety. They see Him in dealings. When somebody insults me, what do I see? When somebody praises me, what do I see? I was praised, right? In the beginning here, like people said nice things about me. What do I see? Most of us will see, thank you, brother. He said nice things about me, right? Other people that know God, you know what do they see? As Ibn Ata al-Secondary explained, he said the following: when you see people praise you, know that they're praising the veil of Allah, of God around you. Oh, the praise and thanks be to the one that veiled you, not to the one that praised you. What does that mean? If you were to know me, if you were to know my thoughts, my deficiencies, I don't think anybody here would praise me. But one of Allah's names is As-Satir, the one that veils. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like the skin, all of you look nice, alhamdulillah. What if I remove your skin? Did you ever see a plastic surgery when the skin is removed? You know how we look under it? Monstrous. Terrible. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of His names, and you can see it in our creation, He creates a thin layer of skin. Why? To protect. And number 2, to make us look good, so we can look onto each other. So we're not scared from each other. Similarly, in the spiritual sense, there are defects in my heart. There are problems, maybe jealousy, maybe anger, maybe things in there that if you see my thoughts, maybe you will not look into my face. But Allah veils. And the veil of Allah is so beautiful. Look, when you have something that's dirty, something that's filthy, that you can cover it with a cloth, right? Or you can cover it with something that is so beautiful that people admire the cover. Did you get it? So what you're admiring when you're praising me, I don't see me, I don't see you. What do I see? I sit here. And immediately what comes to my heart? Oh God, like you veiled me in this life, please veil me in the hereafter. Do not expose me in front of the Prophet and in front of the angels on the hereafter. Those who know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they see Him in every single thing. And that is the meaning, if you will. What is the very first verse revealed to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Iqra, right? Remember? The very first verse revealed from the Quran, it says what? Iqra. But Iqra means what? Recite, read. But as you know, I'll take 2 lessons and we'll go through this. 2 quick lessons. First, the Prophet is illiterate. He doesn't know how to read. What was the point of telling him read and recite? And he responds, I don't know how to recite. ما أنا بقارئ. I don't know how to read. And the response comes what? Read. I don't know how. I'm not capable of reading. And the response comes, read. And then at the end, ما أنا بقارئ. Read what? And then the verse says what? Notice that the word اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. Read, recite by, with the name of your Lord, the one that created. Underline the following: bism, by and with. The 2 lessons. 1, with yourself, with your ability, you can do nothing. You cannot read. With your ability, you cannot get a PhD. With your abilities, with your capacity, you will never be happy. Many times things will face us in our life, and our problem is what? We're relying on, I can do it, Me. Am I living my life this way? By myself. You know what by myself meaning? By my strength, by my mind, by my science. Am I living alone? Am I attempting to go through the journey of this life by me only? I'm the only rider? It will be a miserable ride. Bismi Rabbik, what does it mean? Do not go through this life alone. Do not attempt to do anything alone. Do with Allah's help. What do we say? Bismillah. Right? Whenever anything, you're about to sleep, you're about to wake up, you're taking a class. What does Bismillah mean? We translate it as in the name. But it's not in. It is by, with the name of God, with His help. Is anybody living here with God? And this is what we attempt to do here. The first lesson. We learn the names of God and the attributes of Allah. Why? Because we want to live with them. Live by them. This is the dua of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Before we sleep, what do we say? Bismika Allahumma amut wa ahya. By your name. With your name do I live and I die. Are you with me? Do you understand? If I'm doing something by Al-Qawi, Allah's the most powerful. Can you imagine a person doing something by Al-Qawi? Can you imagine a person living by Al-Wakil? Can you imagine a person living by Al-Tawwab, Al-Ghafur? Can you imagine a person living by Ar-Rahman, the most compassionate, Our deeds will reflect the divine beauty of the creation. So we learn about the names of Allah so that we can live by them. The second thing, and then I'll start the presentation quickly. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. Read. Read what? Through Allah, the universe out there. Look into the universe, do not look through your own eyes. Look through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will see wonders. Your emotions, my feelings, situations that happen in my life. How do we interpret them? Read them by God. Why did she say that? Why did this happen to me? Why? Oftentimes we suffer when we are unable to understand the meaning behind something. To be able to see things from the perspective of the divine, you will see things clearly. You live through this life, you see a person dying, and say, that's al-Mumit, that is al-Muhi. You can interpret everything. I see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in everything. The person that insults me, simple example. If a person comes and insults me, what do you see? Can I tell you a simple thing in psychology? Just one thing quickly. Oftentimes if somebody insults me, I get hurt, and what do? He hurt me, right? And then I'm angry and I want to do what? Retaliate. And notice what I said, who hurt you? He did. And you know what's the problem? He'll go back home and sleep. The rest of the night, what am I doing? I'm thinking about what? Why did he say that? Is there anybody here doing this? Having something in his head, why did she do that? And it has been 5 years. Why did that happen in my life? It's very serious. Honestly, I can give you a simple example. If I was to tell Ahmed here. Oh, Ahmed, I know you, and you're such a wonderful person, but there is one thing that I know about you. I'm not sure if I should tell you or not. You know what? I'm not going to tell you now. What happens? I go back home. What happens to him? He suffers. He'll continue the rest of the night doing what? Killing himself. I didn't kill him. So if you realize, a person that insulted me, he hurt me once. But when he leaves, who's hurting me now? Every time I remember it and I get angry about it and I think about it, I get what? Hurt. And all what I see is what? Him hurting me. Where is Allah in it? On the other hand, if a person comes and insults me, and all what I saw is the following: this is a person giving me his hasanat. Do you understand? A person who insults you. If my focus is, oh Allah, I need more good deeds. Oh Allah, please forgive me. Do you want Allah to forgive you? I often tell people this. Ya Allah, please forgive me. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. You want to be forgiven? Yes. God will send someone in your way, and he will do something bad to you. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلْيَعْفُوا وَلْيَصْفَحُوا أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَنْ يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. Let them pardon, let them forgive. Don't you love that God will forgive you? What does that mean? How do they relate? I'm asking, oh Allah forgive me, oh Allah forgive me, but I'm not doing anything. Here comes a person who insults me. You know what I see now? All what it takes, if I was to forgive that person, God will forgive me. So that person for me becomes what? Alhamdulillah, jazakum Allah khair. My dua has been responded. I will not get angry. You see that? So our feelings, our emotions are based on what we perceive and what we see. Look, one guy left the presentation right now, right? What should I think? Okay, I'll put it another way. One person left, a second person left. What happens to me? What do you think should happen to me? If you were here, what would happen to you? I'll get, right? Oh, I'm doing a bad job, right? And then if I think this way, what will happen? My feelings will be what? Anxious, right? Now if I'm anxious, how will I behave? I start sweating. I start not able to shake, right? And then the presentation will really go bad, right? You see that? On the other hand, if a person left, and I said, oh subhanallah, he might, I know why, he's going to go pray Asr and come back. Now what will I feel? Nothing. A person is yawning. I'm speaking to you here and I see one of the sisters. If I saw her, right, yawning, what I feel and how I will behave is a function of what? How did I interpret this? If I interpret it, again, I'm boring, what will happen? Some people, actually, they'll get hurt and then they feel anger. And I start telling you what? The adabs and etiquettes of listening to the words of God, right? And the Sahaba and the companions, and yawning actually is makruh. And I quote the hadith. Why? I felt angry. But on the other hand, the reality can be what? If you see properly. MashaAllah. That sister probably has been up since 6 a.m. She has classes. And this class is so interesting that she took effort. Although she's tired, she's attending and she's attempting to hear. Although she's tired. What does that say about me? Now how do I feel? Much better, right? So basically what I'm telling you, the way we feel in life, the way we behave is a function of what we see. And those who do not see by God, they see completely distorted pictures. On the other hand, if we are able to see Allah in everything, everything has meaning, everything becomes beautiful. Now can you please go ahead? Give me one. And this is the thing we're going to try to do now. Please move. What do you see? Cube, right? Alhamdulillah. Anyone in engineering here? Okay, what is that angle?
90 degrees.
90 degrees, right? No, it's not. I'm a PhD. It's not 90 degrees. Of course, you don't do that, right? That's arrogance. It's not 90. It's not 90. And you're going to say, are you crazy? It is 90. And I'm telling you, I'm sure it's not 90. Who's right and who's wrong? You're going to say it is 90, and how can you have a PhD? And this is, and I'm telling you, how can you be in the university and you don't know the answer of this? Of course it's not 90. Okay, move ahead. Okay, so that's the cube. Move one more. Oh, it takes a while. That's a very slow one. Now do you see what happened? Did you get it? This is the I removed those lines, right? What is this angle? It's 135. Did you get it? I was right. It is not 90. Why did you see it as 90? Now we return back to the previous slide. What is the difference? The difference is I saw 2 dimensions only. For me, you know what a 2 dimension is? Plane. I did not see a cube. I saw 3 lines. Focus on those 3 lines. Forget everything else. 3 lines in a plane. 1, 2, 3. 360 divided by 3. That's the answer. Right? 120. But you looked at it and said, no, wait a minute. Those are not lines in 2 dimensions. They represent something else. This is not a useless 2 dimension figure. This represents a cube. You saw it in 3 dimensions. You understand what I'm speaking about? Similarly, when I look to the creation outside, everything outside, there are people that they look and all what they see is a tree, a bee, somebody insulting, and they see 2 dimensions. Those who know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're able, when they look to the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they see deeper meanings. They realize that the lines around them represent something bigger. You get the meaning here? So let's try now to do this. I want to take us in a journey trying to do this. Knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by looking first outwardly in the creation, secondly inwardly in things that happen within us. And trying to see Allah's names in everything. Please go ahead. What do you see? It's all about ashhad, I see, right? Okay. A snake, right? I see a snake. Well, actually this is not a snake. If you look carefully, this is not the head. The head is on top. This is the tail. This is a snail. It's a snail, not a snake. And this is the head of the snail, and this is the tail. What's going on here? This snail, birds eat snails, right? So whenever a bird is coming, the snail will raise its tail and puff its tail. And here comes the head of the snail. What will happen to the bird? Right. So that is that. Now they want to sleep. Hope this scares them enough, right? So when you look to this, what do you see in this? I can see many meanings. First, you can say, رَبُّنَا الَّذِي أَعْطَى كُلَّ شَيْءٍ خَلْقَهُ ثُمَّ هَدَى. It is God that gave everything its creation and then He guided it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He creates something, He guides it on to how to survive. But there is another meaning which is even more important. If I was the snail, put yourself in the snails, from snail's perspective, and there is a bird coming to attack the snail, what will you attempt to do? If I was the snail, I'll attempt to run away, right? Now if you try to convince the snail, the bird is coming, don't run away, stay where you are, raise your tail and puff it. Do you think the snail knows anything about the snake? No. Does it know that a bird will be afraid from a snake? No. It thinks it's the right thing and attempts to run away. It will get eaten. But if the snail does what it was supposed to do, stand in its place, rely on God, raise your tail, all of a sudden what happens? The bird gets scared, right? If I was to tell you right now, before sleeping, the sunnah is to read the last 2 verses to 2 surahs in the Quran, Al-Ma'udat. And Allah said, and the Prophet ﷺ told us, they protect us. They protect us from evil things, from shaitan. You will say, what do you mean? Do you mean to tell me if I recite those surahs and do this, now I'm protected? Does it make any sense for me? No. You see that? Like the snake. Will you do it? Knowing that I never saw shaitan, I don't know what is it. Will I continue to do it or not? Are you following? So let's go to the next one. And try to go faster. Okay, we can skip this if you want. I'll do this quickly. So what do you see here? Ants. Well, I have a surprise for you, but not ants. The ones on top are ants. The one on the bottom is a spider. The one on the left and right are ants. The one in the middle is a spider. How do I know that? If you count the legs here, there are 8 legs. What is going on? Well, the spider needs to eat. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made that spider look like an ant. So all what the spider has to do is what? Wait, other ants will come, and when the ant comes closer, he does what? He eats. But there is one trick. Spiders have 8 legs, ants have 6. What does the spider do? It takes the front legs and puts it on top as if they are antlers. When you see this, what comes to your heart? See what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking care of a spider. He changed his body so that don't you think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of you? Go ahead. This is probably one of the most important things in this presentation. The bee. The bee is mentioned in the Quran. Lots of lessons you can draw from the bee. Lots of meanings. And you can know a lot of attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by contemplating on the bee. I'll give you one that I think is one of the most important ones. How does the bee navigate? The bee, they're in the honeycomb, and they start traveling. They find the flower, right? And the bee comes back and it tells the other bees where the flower is. Now, when the bee is navigating, going for the flower, what do they use? They don't have a GPS. And scientists, studied and they figured out, what they're using? They're using the sun. Meaning what? When the bee is flying, it locates the sun and it says 30 degrees from where the sun is, and it starts flying. But there is 2 problems with this. What is the first problem? The sun moves. What does that mean? The bee is going, it reaches the flower, on the way back the sun had moved. What will happen? And scientists found that the bees, they compensate for the sun movement in their head. So you look to this and you say, SubhanAllah, how did they do this? Just by chance. SubhanAllah, right? This, if I was to tell you compensate your students in the university, compensate for the sun movement, start calculating it. Do you know how to calculate it? If I did that in front of you, say, wow, he's a PhD. But when the bee does it, it's instinct. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches. And notice this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can teach. This is ilham. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إِذْ أَوْحَى رَبُّكَ إِلَى النَّحْلِ, Allah inspires the bees. And the bee, according to the hadith, is a metaphor for the believers. A believer should be like the bee. But the second thing, please concentrate on this one. This is very important. The second thing, the bee faces another problem. It's flying and there is the sun. On the way back, there is a cloud. What happens? If there is a cloud, I don't see the sun. If I don't see the sun, what happens to me? I'm lost. You know what that means? The bee can only fly in a cloudless day. Is that correct? Bees fly whether there's a cloud or not. How? Well, scientists figured something else about the bee. We see red, the rainbow? Red, orange, yellow, green, right? The bee, the ability of the bee to see, it sees more wavelengths. It sees ultraviolet. The spectrum, light spectrum? It sees further. It sees the ultraviolet light. What does that mean? Well, that's very important. Why? Because the sun emits ultraviolet, and ultraviolet penetrates the clouds. Do you know what that means? For the bee, even if there is a cloud there, it sees the sun. What is the lesson? Here is a very important lesson. The lesson is the following. It's about guidance. If the bee knew only the 7 colors, a cloud can veil the sun. The sun is there, but it's veiled. Veiled by what? A thin layer of water vapor. A thin layer of water vapor can veil the sun. And the bee will get what? Misguided. It doesn't know where to go anymore. It does not see the sun. Those who know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're speaking about knowledge of Allah. Like the spectrum of light. Allah has many attributes. Red, orange, yellow. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most giving, the most forgiving. Those are the names we love. The names of Jamal, beauty. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Al-Wadud. Those who know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a specific portion of His names. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. When calamities happen, when difficulties and hardship is encountered in their life, it becomes like a thin cloud. And they are unable to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through that thin layer of hardship. Those who know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with more attributes, not only as al-Mu'ti, the one that gives, but as al-Mana, the one that deprives. Not only as Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, but only as Al-Qawi, Al-Mati, the most powerful, the most mighty, Al-Qahar, the one that overpowers. Those are names and attributes of Allah. When we know all the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even in hardship, I look and I can see Allah not only in times of ease, I see Him through my hardship. And as such, I can be guided. The lesson we learn from the bees, it is not sufficient to know Allah with the attributes that I like. There are other attributes of Allah that I will experience in my life. If I don't know about them, I lose my guidance. Do you get this lesson? Should we move? Blank. The bird. What do we learn from the birds? What do you see in a bird? Well, the Prophet ﷺ told us a hadith. But before that, you know something about birds. Birds, they have to eat double their weight every day. Why? They expend a lot of energy. Every day they have to eat double their own weight. Right? Okay. If I was a bird and I don't have a refrigerator, I don't have any food, I wake up in the morning, what should I focus on? What should I do? There are many birds and I don't know where my provision is. Do I? So as the moment it's Fajr time, I should be the first bird up. You see that? Competition. What do birds do in the morning? Do they fly? The Prophet ﷺ told us, if you were to rely on God in the true essence of reliance, He will provide for you, like how He provided for the bird. The bird reflects the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala al-Wakil. How? The birds in the morning, although they must eat double their weight, they don't fly. What do?
They
chirp, right? They keep chirping till when? They chirp all the way from Fajr, all the way till sunrise. After the sun rises, then they fly. That is the true essence of tawakkul. As a Muslim, what are we supposed to do? When we wake up in the morning, what is the first thing we should do? Pray Fajr, right? You wake up, you pray Fajr. What is the Sunnah? After praying Fajr, what do we do? The Sunnah is to do the same thing like the bird. Do not rush to your class. Do not go and sleep. Stay where you are. Do what? Tasbih, dhikr, salah, all the way till sunrise. Then fly. That is tawakkul. Reliance, see, reliance involves both. I'm going to search for my food, but not on the expense of my ibadah. My dhikr, my dua, my supplication is a means for me to get food. Perhaps I will get more food if I do more dhikr in the morning. If I have a test, if I have an exam, dhikr becomes more important. I rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A bird is that way. They don't have a refrigerator. They don't know where their food is. Yet, they're not anxious. If I lose my job, what happens? I get anxious. I'm speaking about myself. Looking at the bird, it reflects, it teaches me about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a wakil. Let's skip the mosquito. Don't mind. Let's skip that guy. Salmon, should we do the salmon or do you want me to? How long do we have in this presentation? 3 minutes. So I think skip. Salmon. Maybe I reflect on this verse. I did this before, and I reflect on it. The question of why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create things as fast as they are? Right? You know, when you look to the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the universe, it is so vast. Allah is al-Wasa. This is a reflection of His name. Al-Wasa meaning what? He's vast. Vast in what? Vast in forgiveness. Vast in knowledge. This attribute is reflected even in the way He creates. The universe is so vast. Many people tell you why it is such a waste of space. There is so many things, so many flowers, so many fish, so many. Do we need all this? Do we really need all this? The answer is no. Why did He do all this? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us why in the Quran. He tells us in this verse, it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that created the 7 heavens and the 7 earth. And with commandments and this beautiful system for one reason, لِتَعْلَمُوا, so that you would know the purpose of the universe, the purpose of the vastness, the purpose of everything you see. He created all this for one thing, for you to know. Know what? How much He wants to honor you, how much special you are. Go to the next slide. And this is an experiment you can actually do. And I invented this. I never did it myself, but I highly encourage some of you to do this if you want to really feel it. I've said this before. Let's say it again quickly. I want you one day to take $200, go to a flower shop and buy flowers with $200. Make it $300. Now what happens? How many flowers will you buy? Can you imagine? This is the picture in your head. Now go home. You're not married, you're young. Go home for your mother, right? Your spouse would love that, right, when you get married. And your mother enters the house and she finds roses and flowers everywhere. $300 worth of roses and flowers. Everywhere in the house. What will she do?
Show you out.
I think first of all, it will be amazing and take shock, right? What's all this, right? The second, she will come and, why did you do all this? Only maybe a vase is enough. What $300 worth of flowers? What is the answer? Why did you spend $300 worth of flowers for me? You know why she'll shout? Because probably it's her money, right? That's why. Anyway. So, and the answer is, this is to tell you how much I love you. 10 roses are not enough. You mean so much for me that to express it, I had to fill this entire house with roses. And the reason I did this is to tell you, to show you, to make you know what do you mean for me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the 7 heavens and the earth. All the flowers, all the fruits, everything. Why? Why? Can you tell me why strawberries and bananas and mangoes? Why? Why all those flowers? They were created for one purpose. The same thing. For you to know that I care about you. For you to know how much I want to honor you. For you to know how much I love you. It's an expression of love. Next time, when I see strawberries and bananas and you go to Albertsons and many of us, we think about our stomach. I see an expression of Allah's love. Look what Allah did. All this, the intent of it is one message. For you to know me. For you to know how much I love you. How much I want to honor you. What do you mean for me? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, didn't you see أَلَمْ تَرَوْا أَنَّ اللَّهَ سَخَّرَ لَكُم مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ? Don't you see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala subjected for you everything in the heavens and in the earth? Do you understand that? Everything. Every single thing is for you. Don't you see? Don't you see how much I love you? See the word see? Alam tara? Don't you see? Are you blind? Don't you see what's around you? And then we say, does God love me? Are you kidding? Do you know how much it takes for me to eat? I often give this example. Just to eat something, what does it take? To eat an apple. I bought it from Ralph's. No, it's not how it happened. There is the sun with nuclear explosions over there. Rays come down, water evaporates, tons of water, and Allah's doing this. And He carries it in clouds, and the clouds goes. Tons of water. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this. Tons of water are carried in clouds. And how does Allah give the water? Can you imagine if 100,000 tons are on top of my head and Allah opens it? No. It's rain. It's nice. Even the delivery is nice. Rain comes down. The sound of rain is nice. Creeks, right? And they're nice. Allah's delivering water for you. Look at the delivery. And then the water comes, and there is this seed. It goes in, and then the tree starts to grow, and then there is bees working to pollinate it. All this for who? For you. Do you understand what Allah did? He's telling you all those are working for one purpose. For you. For you to eat that apple. SubhanAllah. Allah subjected everything for you. Continue. Inshallah. This is one thing. Can we go back? Just quickly. Yeah. So this is something I thought of. I just wanted to share with you. Cars. Right? You know what this represents, right? What am I going to say here? science discovered the following. We looked on cars, and I found the following. You can do this yourself. You can get a Honda, like Civic, I don't know, 2014 or something, and start going backward. And you see that the car evolved. You know what I mean? You can do that. You can do it with aeroplanes, you can do it with computers, you can get your PC, the Pentium, and you go like, to my days, it's a 486, and then 286, and 8086, for those who know and then 8008, and you say, wait a minute, the computer evolved. First it was 1 mega of RAM, then it became 2, then it became 4, you know. Similarly, when you look to cars and you see, subhanAllah, look at this. It was first this, and then it evolved into that. And then it actually became this. And guess what? Aeroplanes use the same engine. But wings sprout, right, from the car. And then it became a 747. I conclude, what's my conclusion when I see this? I conclude nobody did any car. The car developed itself. And actually survival of the fittest. Cars that are not good, they die. That's why American cars are dying and the Japanese cars are surviving, right? Survival of the fittest. Doesn't it work? Does the rule work? Yes. Are you with me? And therefore I conclude what? Nobody designed cars, cars just evolved. And I proved it. And the observation is correct, but when you see this, you know what the conclusion is? They have the same creator. So when I see something, if you tell me a whale evolved into a bear, do we believe in that? Okay, first of all I tell you, does it shake me as a believer? No. Look, you know the story of the fish that jumped out of the water and kept flapping till the fins became legs, right? You know the story? Do you believe? If it happened, then of course there is no problem in it. It's how you see it. People look at this and say, see, it did it by itself. And I look at it and say, no, you missed the point. You've missed what's going on. This is a direct expression. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Those who struggle in our way, we will guide them to our way. This is the verse in the Quran. What does it say? Those who struggle, attempt. I, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will guide them. The fish is representing this. The fish is struggling. Allah guides it. He's the one that made it evolve. This is his name, Al-Bari, the evolver. So when I see a fish, if I saw a fish turning into a frog or turning to a dog, I say, subhanallah, look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the representation of me. When I have a difficulty in this life, struggle, and Allah, the one that changed the fish, can change you. You see the meaning? Next slide. Big Bang. What do you see? Okay, people tell you this. How did everything come? Well, we figured it out according to science. There was nothing, and then all of a sudden an explosion happens, and then what do you have? The planets and the stars, right? Okay. As a Muslim, how do I see this? I look onto this and I say, subhanallah. Why? Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. I see Allah in this. This bears witness to la ilaha illallah. How? Okay. This is a joke, I have to say this before I say it. I come from the Middle East, and I know a lot about explosions. Explosions never create any order, do they? They create a lot of mess. We're experts, supposed to be the experts. It's a joke. Are you telling me that this order I see outside came from an explosion? You know what that resembles? If I was to get 2 plates in front of you, and I smash the 2 plates in front of you in the air, and here comes small little plates coming out of this. What are you going to say? How did you do this? How? How can you smash 2 plates? Smash them. I understand if you make them, but you need to tell me. You smash 2 cars. You smash 2 buses, and here comes 4 Corollas. Right? And the Tesla maybe, right? How can you make a car like a Honda by smashing 2 buses? If it tells anything, it tells me what? How capable you are. You mean to tell me you guided things when they were exploding? Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. This can be no chance. I know, when I see something exploding, therefore, I always remember this. Our explosions created mess. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can guide something in an explosion. And He can create all what you see. From an explosion. Ashhadu I see. And la ilaha illallah. How long do we have? I'm sorry if I'm boring. Should I skip or? I'll give you this is physics, right? And look, physics.
We're enjoying it.
Okay. It happens that physics is something I love. I like physics, right? So if you leave me with this, I can go for an hour. So 5 minutes and you have to cut me, okay? So a little bit of physics here. This is something they teach you, like and they teach in school. You know the atom, right? And I don't know if they still teach this or not, but they tell you the atom is composed of protons and electrons, right? The proton is positive, the electron is negative. Go to the next slide. Right? One thing to note is that they tell you, well, the proton it's 1,000 times bigger than the electron. Look at the mass. It is 10 power minus 27, the electron is 10 power minus 31, meaning what? It is 1,000 times bigger. Look at the numbers. You see the numbers? 1.672622177, right? What is that number? 9.109, right? The masses are completely different. Now go to the next slide. How about the charge? They teach us in school that the proton is positive and the electron is negative. And when you put one proton and one electron, what happens? One positive and one negative, the total charge is 0, right? Now wait a minute. What is the charge of the proton? Look at the number. 1.602177733 times 10 power minus 31. What is the charge of the electron? It's exactly the same. I don't know if you, wait a minute. They're different particles. One is 1,000 times bigger than the other. And you're telling me the charge of the first one and the charge of the second one, it is not that they're matching to the first digit. How much are they matching? It is perfectly the same. Perfect matching. Wait a minute, now I'm an engineer. If you were to tell me, I want you to make cell phones, and each cell phone is 2.0000 pounds exactly. I tell you I can. There is tolerance. One will be 2.01, the other will be 1.99, right? You can never make something precise. And you are telling me all electrons and all protons on the face of the earth, they have the exact same number. Why? Did anybody explain this for you? We just found it this way. It just happened this way. Can I ask you something? I know many of you never asked this question. Is there anything as half an electron? Why not? Why can't I have half an electron? You mean to tell me all electrons on the face of the earth are of this mass and this charge? Yes. But the most amazing part is the following. You know what will happen if this is different than this by 1 of a billionth? You know what's the consequences of this? Let's say the electron is more. You have one proton, one electron. The charge of the electron is a little bit more than the proton. What happens? The total charge of the atom becomes negative. You know what's the consequences? You cannot form any molecules. Everything you see will be reduced to hydrogen. Because if one atom is negative, the second is negative, what will happen? They repel. They'll never come together. Wait a minute. I don't know if you see what the implication of this is. There would have been no universe if this number is not precisely this number. How did this happen? Is this chance? Did this happen by chance? Did the electron choose its... How did it know? This is a manifestation of one of Allah's names, Al-Qahar. The one, the overpowering, the irresistible. The one that when he decrees everything, this is submission. The electron and the proton is submitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala precisely. The universe around you is in a state of submission. That's what's going on. This number is amazingly equal to this number. This is no chance. This is the precision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'll share one quick thing regarding the electron. So do I have 2 minutes? Probably this will interest you guys. Recently, again, you see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even in science. Scientists were so arrogant in the last century. A man by the name of Max Planck, for those who know him, late 1800s, he wanted to study physics. And they told him the following. This is in the days of Newtonian mechanics, and they said, we figured it out. The Newtonian mechanics, the classical mechanics, we figured physics. Now we have equations that describes everything. They succeeded with the laws of Newton to describe the sun, the moon, the orbits. And at that time they were so arrogant that they said we figured it out. It is the mechanical age. Every single thing on the earth can be now explained with Newton laws. And we've done. And that young guy who wanted to study physics, they even told him, don't go for physics because it's done. We know everything. There's only one problem left. Black body radiation. It was so interesting. So, see the arrogance. Now, what happened next was something that was amazing. This young guy starts to study the black body radiation. All the equations are failing. And nobody can explain it. And he said, you know what, I see that if I write an equation, E equals h mu, E energy, mu is like frequency, h is Planck's constant. It solves the problem. I don't know why. I don't know what this h Planck constant is, but it solves the problem. Right? And I don't know why. What comes next is when they were studying the atom. Look at Allah and how Allah breaks the arrogance of mankind. We figured out the moon and the sun, right? And here comes the hydrogen atom. And they started writing Newton laws for the hydrogen atom. It all failed. And they cannot explain it. And what happens? And we don't know what's going on until Einstein and I have to go fast, and a man by the name of Schrödinger, they took this equation of Max Planck and they said, wait a minute, it means light can be particles, but also particles can be waves, something, and they what does it mean? We don't know. Let me get the wave equation and plug this in it and see what happens. And they write it, and it solves everything. And you know what was the surprise here? Look at, this is the essence of it. They don't teach this in physics. It's the philosophy behind it. In Newton laws, classical mechanics, which is what you're familiar with, things have no conscience. Meaning what? If I get my cell phone, and if I do this, the cell phone will fall, right? Whether I do it, you do it, it will behave the same, right? Basically, we say that nature has laws of physics. Whether you're righteous, you're not righteous, you're good, you're bad, it doesn't matter, right? Basically, that the universe behaves, it's like almost done. Your consciousness has nothing to do with it. So if you're going to tell me that by praying more, this tree is going to give more fruits, what will a scientist tell you? It's not scientific. What does your prayer have to do with the tree, right? Physics does not say that, right? This is Newton. And then they make fun of us. Now, what happens with quantum mechanics was a surprise. Quantum mechanics revealed something that is shocking. According to this equation, and it has been proven, I don't know if you want me to go on or not, but I'll say just the conclusion here. The basic meaning of quantum mechanics was the following. They say it, they give courses now, and they pay $500, and you go for the course, right? And they tell you, we figured something based on quantum mechanics, science, it will change your life. It will transform you. This is the secret behind the universe. What? I tell you, okay, listen carefully. Actions are by intentions. I'm not joking. What do you mean? They tell you, wait a minute, we discovered that electrons and protons are conscious of the observer. What? What does that mean? They proved it. Double slit experiment, for those who are interested. That if you observe the electron, it will change its behavior according to the observer. What? Does that make sense for you? You understand what I'm saying? There is an electron and it's behaving a certain way. But it's as if the electron is looking. Are you looking at me? Yes, I'll behave this way. You're not looking at me? I'm not going to behave this way. What? What are you saying? And they tell you, yes, we discovered something amazing. The universe is conscious. This is science. This is quantum mechanics. There are books with that name. The self-aware universe. Science discovered something amazing. The universe is connected and is aware of you. Can you believe this? And I say, didn't we tell you that? سَبَّحَ لِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Everything in the heavens and the earth is praising God. Didn't we tell you that? Didn't we tell you that if you slip and make a mistake, provision can be diminished? Of course things are aware of you and they witness unto you on the day of judgment. We told you this. You don't think those are dumb trees outside. We know things are conscious of you. Now science tells you, oh my God, the universe is conscious. Meaning what? The way you think, the way you are, can change results. And therefore, now they tell you something. We figured out how. You want to have a nice day? Here is what you do. You wake up in the morning and you say, I'm going to have a nice day. And the universe will reflect that. And those are the real things that happen. And you tell them, didn't we say that? أنا عند ظن عبدي بي. Hadith Qudsi, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I am what my servant thinks of me. Do you know what that means? You wake up in the morning thinking, Allah's so merciful, Allah's so kind, Allah's so generous, so be it. If you wake up in the morning thinking, there is no God, it's a jungle out there, it's survival of the fittest, guess what will happen? So be it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us those things around you are conscious of them. The way they react to you is according to the way you react to them and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How many? Not done? Okay. You want the cat or? Who wants this? This was supposed to be the second part of the presentation about how to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in situations that happen in our life. And this was one example. This is a true story that happened in Orange County. And in a nutshell, here is what happened. Again, one sister, alhamdulillah, righteous, giving halaqas and everything about Allah, and tawakkul and reliance, right? And she's praying Fajr one day, Allahu Akbar. And when you're praying, all of a sudden, here comes the cat. And guess what the cat had in her mouth? She caught a mouse, and cats, when you're a nice owner, a mouse is very valuable for a cat, by the way. A mouse is a prize. So when they love their owner, what do? They take their prize, and out of honor for you, they bring it, and they put it down before you, kind of. And the sister is Allahu Akbar, and it's time for what? It's Fajr Salah. And here comes Mr. Cat, the mouse. And of course, what happens? Fast Salah, right? Sujood, and the cat comes and drops the rat in front of her. Sister, of course, finishes Salah, and now she wants to do what? Throw this dead rat out. She goes to catch the rat. Guess what happens? The cat thinks she's playing with me. So every time she approaches the rat, the mouse, the cat will come, take the mouse, and throw it at that sister. She starts screaming. Right? This is a true story, right? And she screams, right? And then, and the cat goes away. She goes to touch the mouse. And the cat comes and, we're playing, right? She takes the mouse and throws it at the sister. And the sister is screaming, right? And eventually, she succeeded taking that mouse and throwing it outside. Guess what happened? The cat went outside, brought the mouse back again. Now, it didn't end there. The next day, they were having a halaqah. All right? In the middle of the halaqah, this time, this cat wants to show the guests what kind of a good cat you have. So she comes in, and this is a true story, with a live, the mouse was alive this time. Imagine brothers, I won't say even sisters. You guys are sitting in a halaqah, and here comes a cat in the middle of the halaqah and drops a mouse. Of course, the halaqah was gone. No more halaqah, right? And again, let's throw the mouse out, right? The cat brings the mouse, and this time, you know what the cat did? You don't like the mouse, I'll hide the mouse. Where did the cat hide the mouse? In the shoe of that sister. Can you imagine if you wake up one day in the morning, you're sleeping, and here comes Mr. Cat, and you open your eyes, and here's the cat with the mouse on top of it? What will you do to the cat? Why am I saying all this? This is a situation, right? Funny thing. But you can learn about Allah even in this. What is going on? What do I see? I see a lot. Is the cat sincere? The cat is sincere. Is the cat doing anything wrong? No. The cat is saying, a mouse is a nice thing, and I like you. And because I like you and I like mice, a mouse is good and I like you, therefore, I bring you a mouse. If the cat does not stop this behavior, what will happen? You and your mouse will be out of the house. Right? When we say, I love Allah, I really love Allah, and I want to worship Him. I like music. Therefore, the best way to worship Allah is with songs. Can you imagine if I'm in my salah, instead of saying Allahu Akbar, I start to do what? Bring the band. Why not? The songs are nice, nasheeds are nice, right? I'm not saying anything, nasheeds, I'm not saying halal or haram, but imagine a person who's going to pray on the nasheed. And I say, you know what, it makes me feel better, I concentrate more, and it is so beautiful, the words are so nice, why not? What's the problem? It's the same, not you like it, in your eyes it's a mouse. And how do you know that Allah likes. Those sincere seekers of God, they realize this. I get a present that He likes. You follow that? And if I continue to try to approach God by me and what I think with my rats, me and my rat will be out of the house. You get the meaning? And this is إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. Here إن شاء الله. I have to stop. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. جزاكم الله خيرا.
So, Jazakallah khair, Ustadth Elwan, we really appreciate you coming up. So, inshallah, Ustadth Elwan will be available for a few minutes outside if you guys have any last minute questions you guys want to ask him.